Hey everybody, and welcome once more to Get Indie Gaming, where in this video we're taking you through some of the best bits of the Nintendo Indie Game Showcase of August 2020. First up, amongst all of the news and surprises, we had the announcement where Untitled Goose game is getting a co-op multiplayer mode in what we hear is a free update due out, we believe, not just on the Switch but also for all of the other platforms. With this free update, you'll be able to cause even more mischief as you're able to play the entire game with 2 players in what seems to be a local co-op option. Now this was one of the surprise greats from last year, and in adding this multiplayer option, we can expect even more hijinks and laughs aplenty when this update drops on the Switch and all of the other platforms this coming September 23rd. Coming next, Supergiant Games' Greek mythology-inspired roguelike dungeon crawler Hades was announced as coming to the Switch platform at some point in the autumn. Hades does a lot of things we usually see within the genre rather well, with it coming out in early access via Steam towards the end of last year. The voice acting is a particular highlight and sounds and feels as strong as anything you'll get in any of the genre's bedfellows. Interestingly, the Switch will also feature cross-saves to the PC, which is perhaps an unexpected but nice little touch. Following on from Hades, the folks at Nintendo dropped the news we had been wanting to hear for ages, that the delightfully tongue-in-cheek Hypnospace Outlaw is expected out on the Switch, with it coming out this August 27th. Now don't let the graphics and overall look of this put you off. It's been designed to ape how the internet looked back in the late 90s, and honestly they've done such a great job. This puts us firmly back at college in that era, where we're trying to figure out how to get our assignments over a fledgling college intranet, all over speeds of 28.8 kilobytes per second. In any case, this one's all about working as an internet detective, with you going about the place looking for wrongdoers, folks undertaking copyright infringement and loads more, all the while trying to avoid viruses and adware. This was awesome on the PC and should find a nice little home on the Switch. Following on, we had one of the bigger news announcements of the whole show, and it was the surprise launch of one of the most eagerly awaited games of the entire year. Spiritfarer is a cozy and wholesome management simulation game where you play as Stella, who at the beginning finds herself taking over the reins of being the ferry master to the deceased, which sees you and your buddy, a little cat called Daffodil, as you set off, find and rescue souls of the dead before setting them free into the afterlife. We've been lucky enough to play Spiritfarer almost to completion by the time this video airs, and it's honestly well worth taking a look at. It addresses many touching subjects such as death, while also holding on and cherishing memories of the living and those that are no longer with us. It's a truly poignant tale, and one we suspect will bring a tear to the eyes of many. Up now, and yet another much-loved game from last year. All of us here in the 3-person team at Get Indie Gaming really enjoyed it. A Short Hike, well, it also popped out onto the Switch with us hurrying over to the main device to go and buy it as soon as the show ended. If this one is new to you, well, we played it so much last year, with it making its way into the best of the rundown for games from 2019. It's really a rather cute and tranquil action exploration game with some of the best flying and gliding mechanics we've seen in a good long while. A Short Hike is hugely recommended, with it currently being a timed exclusive for the Switch. While we're talking wholesome, we can follow A Short Hike with Garden Story, which is expected out at some point later in the year. Here you play as the guardian of a village who happens to be a grape, where you're tasked with looking after and rebuilding your community, with you able to build up the place using resources you find, while also bringing together the locals to work for a common goal to starve off the rot that has engulfed the community. Moving slightly away from all things fine and dandy and wholesome, the ever-brilliant Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero are headed to the Switch at some point in 2021. If by some chance this has passed you by, this sees you within an underwater survival horror mechanic, all within a delightfully creepy alien world. This is fun, enjoyable, and scary in equal measure. Popping back into the realms of the wholesome, Takeshi and Hiroshi came out yesterday as yet another wonderful little surprise. This sees you play as Takeshi, a young game developer, with you trying to keep your younger brother, Hiroshi, happy and entertained. You do this by letting him play the game you're developing, and that's still in development, and your goal is really to make your brother enjoy it, to help him overcome the challenges, and you also, well, you shouldn't really let him lose. The aesthetic looks fabulous, with the overall premise being that little bit different. As we said, Takeshi and Hiroshi is available to play today. And while we're talking surprises, here's another one. Next up, we have one of the most energetic games of the entire show with Raji and Ancient Epic. It also came out after the showcase finished, with it being a Switch timed exclusive. This one sees you play as Raji, chosen by the gods to save humanity and in so doing, rescue her brother from demonic forces. Having played the demo a few times over the past 18 months, Raji promises much, with it taking plenty of inspiration from Indian culture, its mythology and architecture. Moving onwards, and expected next year, and to us one of the best announcements of the entire show, we have Card Shark. In this one, players will have the opportunity to play with and manipulate actual playing cards within a tale of deception set within 18th century France. Many of these interactions are said to be real manipulation tricks, all set within a roguelike progression system. We must add how gosh darn gorgeous this one looks and sounds, with it coming out at some point next year onto the Switch and PC. Moving swiftly along, Nintendo announced yet another, and there's still plenty more to come, banger of a game in the form of Manifold Garden, which made a surprise launch straight after the show on the Switch and also onto the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Manifold Garden is gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at and offers some fabulous puzzling and delightful music. Of all of the games announced in the show, Manifold Garden is the finest hidden gem amongst them. And hopefully, while not sounding like a broken record as the saying goes, yet another game that was announced at the show that's available to play right now, Evergate gives players a 2D puzzle platform experience that's all set in the afterlife. It comes with a great looking time manipulation mechanic, all wrapped together in what seems, as the developer describes, a heartwarming and touching overall story. Up next, and for us the last of the big game announcements from the show, we have Bear and Breakfast, a delightfully odd name for a cute looking management sim kind of game where you play as Hank the Bear. You happen to run a bed and breakfast joint where you're needing to turn your run-down place into the place to be seen. This looks very much as if this will all involve you sprucing things up, making things look all the nicer in order to attract guests and paying customers. Bear and Breakfast is expected out next year as a Switch timed exclusive. While Bear and Breakfast wraps up most of the coverage from the August Nintendo Indie Game Showcase, we did get to see a few snippets of a few other games coming to the platform. We got to see a little bit more of the likes of Haven, which is expected later this year, likewise for the adventure dog racing game The Red Lantern. The same goes for Inmost, which is out in a few days' time as this video airs on August the 21st. We also got to see a little bit more of She Dreams Elsewhere, which is expected to come to the Switch in 2021, and also Grindstone, which if you haven't played this already, is almost certainly going to be a must-buy when it comes to the Switch later in the autumn. So that's it. It's almost time to close the curtain on our summary rundown of the August 2020 Nintendo Indie World Showcase. Let us know which of these you most like the look of down below in the comments, and please give that like button a gentle caress and subscribe to the channel if you've yet to do so. Hey, if you're able, why not consider supporting us over on Patreon, where every dollar is greatly appreciated. Either way, many thanks for watching, and we'll see you all here soon for more indie game videos.